And thanks for staying with us. Now, it is Child Protection Week all week this week, and a group of South Africans are going out of their way to help stop the abandonment of infants in their communities. And guided by the Hug a Baby campaign founded by the Pixie Foundation, they have created awareness as well as brought education in order to provide solutions to the dumping of babies. And according to the Pixie Foundation, statistics show that every week about 200 babies are found dumped in bins and velds around Gauteng alone, and only 60 of those 200 survive. So to tell us more about this, we're joined by Zaheera Bayat, who is the founder of Pixie Foundation, as well as Vinolia Mabele, who is Miss United Nations and also an ambassador of this campaign. Ladies, thanks so much to both of you for coming through. And it is, of course, a rather tormenting issue that we are talking about. But perhaps if we can just start by looking at the campaign and how it came about, Zaheera.
So thank you for having us. And so the Hug a Baby campaign was founded, or rather the inspiration behind the campaign, funny enough, was the birth of my grandson 5 months ago. And it was just around this time that we realized in print media and on air, every few weeks we've had a situation where a baby was dumped whether it was within our communities or within South Africa at large. And I mean, how long are we going to say it's not my baby, so it's not my problem? And when you look at these newborns, they are so innocent, they are so helpless. And if we are going to turn the other way, then where is our humanity? And that is when the Hug a Baby was born, I suppose. And so the campaign is about essentially bringing awareness, education, and yes, solutions to baby dumping and abandonment, not just in Gauteng, but in South Africa at large.
And of course, you can't have too much help in this regard. Vinolia, you bring your profile as Miss United Nations to this, but why exactly did you feel that this was an initiative, an effort that you wanted to be a part of?
Well, personally, thank you for having us once again. Personally, there was a home that I once visited, and it was just, to support the baby shower. And when I got there and saw exactly what the girls, particularly what they go through, what drives them to actually get into this point of abandoning their own babies, it's very, very traumatizing, and it was heartbreaking. And when I heard about what Zaheera is doing, I felt that I needed to jump in and be an ambassador, because I was really touched about, because these are not only issues of abandoning baby, but it's the social ill, and we need to look at what is the root cause that drives a mother to actually do this kind of act, and who exactly is doing this. So it's obviously young girls that are faced with teenage pregnancies. And as last week, we actually launched the African Ambassador Youth Campaign, and this is talking to youth, and we are in the month of youth now, and it was essential.
So Zaheera, let's talk about these statistics, because they're absolutely frightening. And the ones that I mentioned in the intro were just for Gauteng. 200 babies dumped every week.
Yes.
And this is just Gauteng, and unfortunately only 60 survive.
Yes.
So where do you get these stats from? How are they compiled, and what is the picture like for the rest of the country?
Look, we have a Department of Social Services that come on board with statistics. We have independent people like myself that are doing research and actually coming to these points. We have many organizations that come on board, like myself, like the Pixie Foundation, that actually want to know what exactly is happening. We have 3,000 babies that are being dumped and abandoned in South Africa a month. Right? These are just those that are documented, apart from the ones that are being dumped and into the garbage cans, and we have no idea or no documentation of this. So something has to be done very drastically, very quickly. So right now we've visited the baby homes, several in Gauteng, alhamdulillah, and where we found that the infrastructure is very good. Yes, the buildings that they live in are good. We've been to the trenches of Hillbrow as well, visited a few of the homes there. But we found one thing in common with all the baby homes, is that there was a dire need for food. And we are living in 2019, and it is the most saddest thing ever to see or to hear that there are babies, hundreds of thousands of babies in South Africa, not just in the baby homes, that are going to bed hungry and starving. And it is something that we can all come together as a nation and alleviate. This is a social epidemic. Baby dumping and baby abandonment, unfortunately, has become a social epidemic.
So just with regard to those Gauteng statistics again, if only 60 survive, it means 140 of these dumped babies out of the 200 actually die.
Yes.
Are you able to, were you able to establish what they died of and whether they died before they were rescued or after?
Most of the babies died before they were rescued. Some of them died after they were rescued. The babies, we've lost one about 3 weeks ago. I was actually in the middle of another visit with the baby homes, and we realized the paramedics called and said, okay, we've got another baby dumped in Calvin. But by the time we got to the hospital, the baby survived, but it just survived the night, and it passed away the morning after due to exposure. The baby was outside in the bin, in the garbage can for about 6 hours, so hypothermia. So a lot of the babies also are not delivered full term, and that also is why they don't make it. And I mean, a newborn baby, and then we have the terrible, terrible reality that when you are dumped in a dumpster or in a bin, we've got scavengers, we've got dogs, we've got cats that would come to these babies, and there's no need to say further what would happen.
Vinolia, you've had opportunity, as you said, to speak to some of the mothers. So what are some of the reasons why a mother would dump a baby?
Firstly, it's poverty at home. They are driven by poverty, and then they engage in relationships that are just for, beneficial of money. And such relationships leave them stranded, vulnerable, and they end up falling pregnant. They can't even take other options, and the families as well. They also, if you are in school and you are not able to eat, to get food, and you need to study, and then you engage in this relationship with this older man who's actually just there to help you financially, and then you fall pregnant. When you go home, what's going to happen? You're not going to go back to school. So these kids, they fall pregnant, they give birth, and then they don't know what to do with these babies, and then they dump them. So these homes are a solution to actually reduce some of these things, because even when they go to hospitals, they complain that the nurses don't treat them well, and they actually judge them more. So when they actually have these homes that are saying, we will take care of your baby, instead of you killing your baby or dumping your baby, it's actually a much better option.
So just in closing from both of you, it is Child Protection Week, and of course this is something that needs to live beyond just awareness campaigns like this. But what would you say to a mother who's sitting there and potentially having these thoughts because she doesn't know what she's going to do with this baby?
I would say they need to research, especially because most of these young girls are girls that are in school. There's Wi-Fi. They need to research and search for these homes that will be able to look after their babies. Because the other sad thing is that the process of adoption, which we were talking about, is ridiculous. I mean, there are parents that are out there that can take care of these children, but the red tape is just ridiculous. They can't, a baby will be born and they will stay in a home until they are 2 or 3, and the process is just tedious, and they're unable to take the baby and care for them. So if a mother is out there and they don't know what to do with the baby, they must just rather go there, seek help, and leave the baby there. Because sometimes, even when they speak to the social worker, if they change their mind, they can still be able to take the baby back.
And Zaheera, you spoke about babies going to sleep hungry, and you can't but be touched by that. Is there anything that we can do, our viewers watching right now, to alleviate that plight?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that very pertinent question. Is right now the Pixie Foundation is in the process of creating baby formulas and baby cereals, low in GI, high in nutritional value, that would be able to sustain a household for a month, but obviously at a lower costing. So we are in the process of creating a manufacturing plant that can actually supply first Gauteng, South Africa, and very soon into Africa, inshallah. So like Vinolia said, everything that we are experiencing at this time with the social epidemic, if you go back, it stems from poverty. So that is what we would appeal to the public out there, is let's come together as a community in unity. Let the government launch with us, with hospitals. We all need to come on board and launch an extensive communications campaign surrounding young mothers or teenagers with unwanted pregnancies, because gone are the days. I think we've passed the fact that we're going to say prevention. Yes, while prevention is better than a cure, we've passed that already way beyond that. And we have hundreds of thousands of young girls that are pregnant and they don't know what to do about it under dire circumstances. So yes, we urge the public at large to come on board, our nation to come on board, help the Pixie Foundation, and let's get this going. Let's work together as a community, as a nation in unity, and do this.
Well, thanks so much to Zaheera Bayat, founder of the Pixie Foundation, and Vinolia Mabele, who's Miss United Nations, talking to us about the Hug a Baby campaign and trying to provide solutions to the dumping and abandonment of babies. Right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about